Check it, babies. The 2022 Pikes Peak. She's a ripper. And today, I'm going to tell you the 6 things that I like the bestest, the mosterest, the more besterous about this beast. This very capable all-rounder. And here we are out in Duffy's Forest just for the day, cruising around, checking out the equestrian area of Sydney. Hello, horsies. And we're doing it on the Pikes Peak. What a beautiful afternoon here on a glorious Saturday towards the end of winter. It's 26 degrees, bloody warm, as they say. And just check that I've got everything working. Yep, you ripper. So yeah, the Pikes Peak, she's a ripper. Look, quick update on the Super Duke, by the way. It's another couple of weeks away. I can tell you one big disadvantage about KTM buying and owning a Super Duke here in Australia is if you need parts, man, you gotta wait a long time, because obviously it's a new bike, 1390, but gee whiz, it's taken a long time to get parts. Anyway, today's about the Pikes Peak and the things I love about this bike. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the twitchiness. Now, I use the word twitchiness of this bike because when you get on this compared to the V4S, it just feels so responsive. And I mean, I'm just going to pop around you. I mean responsive in every way. So the tip-in, the throttle response, the braking, every action that you take on this bike, you get an immediate reaction. Okay, and in a way that the V4S could just never do. And now I refer to it as twitchy, but twitchy is probably not a good word. It kind of infers a lack of control, but it's brilliant. Its responsiveness, which I refer to as twitchiness, is so good on a big bike like this, because it makes the big tourer a sports bike, and that's why it's such a good package. Everything about it is uber responsive. Every single little movement I make, boom, I get a response. You know, the initial feel of the brake, boom, the accelerator, boom, the turn in, awesome. It's just so responsive, so much so actually that it can catch you out, because you think you're on a big dad bike and that it's going to be kind of a little bit you know, slow to respond, but it's not. And so you do have to get used to it. It took me quite a while when I first got on it to get comfortable with such a big bike, 240 odd kilos, responding so well to the inputs. But I love that about it, and it's what makes it engaging and enjoyable. The downside to that is that probably doesn't quite have the touring capability of the V4S. But it's a good compromise, I think, because I can tour on this, but I get that awesome sportiness, which means when you get to the destination that might take you hours to get to, you can then, you know, the next day in the twisties have a great time. And that I love. I love the way they've tuned this bike. And I think it's got a lot to do with the geometry and the 7-inch front wheel, but also, of course, the way the electronics have been tuned for this machine. Seriously, I love the responsiveness, because it means you're constantly engaged. Even when I'm doing this behind traffic, I'm just constantly having fun. I'm engaged the whole time. Love that. So that's the first thing that I like the mosterest about the Pikes Peak babies. Okay, the second thing that I love about the Pikes Peak is this riding position. It's slightly more aggressive, ever so slightly, than the V4S. You've slightly more tuck, but I prefer it. You just got that slight different angle between your lower body and your upper body, which makes you feel more sporty. and more in control, and I love it. I love it. I do not get sore on this, and I reckon I could probably ride for 3 hours without having to stop, and I'll be okay. I might start getting tight hammies eventually, but this can do long distance, and the riding position is that great blend between, you know, comfort and being sporty enough. And I love the little support I've got behind my arse, right on the coccyx. I've got this nice support, which feels great. Feels like I'm kind of locked into a sports seat, even though I can move around in it. But it's a great balance between being comfortable and being sporty. Love that. So the riding position's A grade, and the distance to the bars for me is perfect. Slight bend in my arms. You know, the width of the bars is good. It's not too narrow. It's not too wide. And it just feels sporty, and it feels like I can lean into those handlebars for counter steer. Love it. So the position on the bike, and I'm 6'4" and pretty tall, and I've got no problem. It's quite low to the ground actually. Of course you can adjust it with the electronic suspension, but you know, my height and with my long levers, it works brilliantly. Love it. So riding position is a big tick. Okay, the next most boisterous thing about this beast of a thing is the gear shifting. The quick shifter on this is awesome. It's so much better than the V4S. The V4S, particularly downshifts, boom, boom. The V4S was actually pretty clunky, and particularly second to first. Watch this, boom, no problem. Upshifts, boom, 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 boom. Look at that, boom, 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 boom. The quick shift is unreal. And what I like about it is, yeah, it's smooth, but it's got that tactile feeling to it. So you feel like you're engaged. Again, it's the engagement of the bike. Love it. Really, really good. When it's cold, when it's hot, it's just a brilliant quick shifter. One of the better Ducati quick shifters, actually, that I've come across. And the V4S was actually quite a disappointing feature of that bike. Maybe it was just the one I had, I don't know. But this quick shifter is way more better than the V4S. So that's the third thing that I really like about this bike, is the shifter. The next thing I really love about this bike, and I know I've spoken about the twitchiness and responsiveness as a key feature I like, and sort of related to that is just the handling. I mean, honestly, like on anything other than the tightest, crappiest roads, which you might have seen in a video of mine where I was chasing the Hyper in this, but stuff like this, so this is reasonably tight through here, but smooth. This thing's awesome. Like the handling, obviously on the big sweepers it's amazing, and that's probably where it's best. But like for a big bike, but even forget the fact that it's big, just generally, the handling is really, really good. Now, I've jacked it up. I've jacked the rear end of the bike up to its 2-passenger max with luggage sitting. And it does need a little more front end feel, and that's why I've done that. And I might even consider a larger back tyre, but I've got to say, generally, out of the box, the handling is very, very good. And even 2-up, I've done some 2-up riding recently, and it feels very, very cool with a passenger on the back. No props. But it is a very, very agile bike for a big bike. The only time you feel its size and its weight is when you're in super crap C roads, tight as, like that video from a few weeks ago. Then you felt the weight, and the Hyper just held me up. But it is generally delightful on most occasions in the handling department. And the V4 was good, it handled well, but you'd have to brake a lot earlier, and you just have to plan your corners a bit more. This you can kind of tip in late, and you can throw it around a bit more like a sports bike. So the handling is really neat. Now, it's not a beginner bike. You know, you do have to have some experience to sort of ride this quickly, but I find much easier to ride than the V4S. and partly because of its sort of responsiveness, but just the handling profile, the 17-inch front wheel. It's a great handling bike. This is not its true element. Its true element's on the faster flowing stuff, but it'll absolutely give you a great time through twisty roads like this, no problem. And you can lean over a long way if you feel like it. So yeah, love the handling. The next most boisterous thing I love, I've got to be honest, I'm so blown away by the brakes. Boom! So blown away, look at that. So blown away. The V4S's brakes were shite. You can only describe them as shite. There is no other word to describe the brakes. I reckon Ducati have underpowered the crap out of the brakes on that bike. It's a major problem. And I reckon people get in trouble on that because it's fast and it doesn't have the brakes. This does. The brakes on this, unreal. Unreal. I feel as safe braking on this as any bike that I've got in the portfolio, and that's saying something for a 240 kilogram bike. Love the brakes. They've smashed it. Absolutely smashed it. Boom, look at this. Boom. Oh, so good downhill. Oh, really good. So great braking performance. It makes me feel safer, and it adds to the handling experience and the general riding experience of the bike, because I know I've got plenty of stopping power, which is really, really important and really cool. Love it. I've lost count of how many things I mentioned. I'm supposed to do 6. I don't know how many I've done, but there's so many things to love about this bike. I'm going to keep going. The next most boisterous thing I love about this bike is it's just the torque. Like, I mean, I think I've spoken enough in the past about how much I love the Gran Turismo version of the V4 Ducati engine, particularly on the multi. But the torque, so good. I don't have to change gear. I'll just stay in third through here, use the braking and power and the engine braking power. You know, tight corner, I'm in third gear, out I come, boom. Like, the torque is so good. Oh, like last fortnight when I was out with Mazar, we were going through the back of Wiseman's Ferry, and he might have pulled away from me on the hyper, and then I'm sitting in fourth gear and I just boom, open the throttle, I just pull the road in towards me, pull him in towards me, and it's just all torque. This thing has got a lot more torque in that middle range than pretty much any big bike I have ridden, and you can just short shift all day long. Or not shift at all, even. I mean, I'm in third here, just sort of using the engine braking and the front brake, and then just torquing my way out of corners. Just unreal. Such a great engine. Oh yeah, and it's got long legs too, so she just pulls and pulls and pulls, and then eventually the front wheel will come up. Third gear loves it towards sort of 9,000 RPM or 8,000 RPM. That front wheel just pops up. The torque is delightful, and look, it might get passed by the BMW MXR or the RS Multi above 10,000 RPM, which you very rarely find on the road, obviously. But at road speeds, I'd rather be on this. I mean, this bike, I mean, I'm not going to change gear at all through here, and I'm just, look at that. So it's just so usable. The torque profile makes this a great road bike. I dare say a better road bike than its competition, although I will try, before I ride off the competition, I'm going to ride them, which I will in due course. But I mean, the torque is such a incredible feature, and it's I'm in race mode here. And the way they've programmed race mode is giving me this big, juicy dollop of torque from the moment I open that throttle up. It's just all there, and loving that, just loving it. Yeah, really lovely. So you just torque your way, woo, up a hill all day long. Well, it's a bit bumpy through there, woo. But the suspension's right up to it. The suspension's excellent. Loving the suspension, and that can be my, I don't know, is it the 7th most boisterous thing? Suspension's awesome. Fully programmable, electronic. Really, really good. I mean, it's just for road use, so easy to use, so configurable, love it. Handles these sorts of rides, easy peasy, not too stiff, not too soft. So I don't know how many that is, but that's a bunch of things I love about the Pikes Peak babies on this quick Saturday blast, just to bring you the latest. And I am going to do a video on the things I like the leasterest about this bike, because there are one or two things that I don't like, but I'm not going to talk about them here, because this is the happy day video, not the sad day video. So we'll bring that the more sad side of the Pikes Peak to you in another video coming real soon, babies. Okay, I don't know if I've done 6 or 7, somewhere in that vicinity, but there's 2 more quick things. I love the tech on this bike. The tech is unreal, so much tech. You know, the blind spot indicators, the active cruise, all of the traction control systems and menu systems on here, unreal. You do feel a lot safer on this bike than any other bike in the portfolio, because you've got so much tech. So tech's unreal. And lastly, I've got the Acra exhaust on this bike, what they call the full system, even though it's not quite a full system, and it sounds sick. It really does. On the bike it sounds awesome. Off the bike it doesn't sound that loud. On the bike it does. It sounds great. Not too loud, but it just sounds awesome. You get lots of pops and bangs, and you know, really great sounds from that Acra. So it's great for the rider. But I did notice following it the other day, I didn't hear too much when I was following it. But certainly on the bike, it sounds great. And again, it's all part of that engagement. So to sum it all up, the word I would use to describe, if I had to use one word to describe the Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak, I would use engaging. It's a hell of an engaging bike. You really do feel all of the elements of riding come together on this bike. You get all of the sensations that make riding so great. It's not a lot. You can't be too lazy on this bike. You can't just sit and cruise. It's too engaging for that. Now you could get on a highway, you could put in 6th gear, you could engage cruise control if you wanted to, but I reckon there are better bikes. The V4S would be a better bike to do that on, actually, than this. But it is still it's still doable, but it's an engaging bike. That's the word I would use to sum up this wonderful Pikes Peak Multistrada. So that's all for now. Until the next one, see you later.